All right, good evening, everyone, and what an amazing evening to welcome you to this much anticipated webinar. We are running a series to mark a milestone. This year we are celebrating our 10th birthday, 10 years of impact. And as we mark and celebrate this major milestone as Lapid Leaders Africa, we are looking back at the voices of transformation from our pioneers. Last week we were here, today we are here, and we have a great lineup of speakers from our alumni lined up. I don't want to spoil the broth because I know that just as I've been looking forward to this, you have also been looking forward to this with much enthusiasm. And here we are. So in a moment, we will be introducing our guest speakers for this evening. But before we do that, I want to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you and to thank you so much for your presence and for your dedication to learning. I want us to start by saying hello to each other virtually. So I want you to go to the participant list and say hi to somebody. And then you say hi to another person. And then in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'm going to open up for 1 or 2 people to also say hi to us live as we begin. We have 3 minutes of saying hi. Greet someone, reach out to someone in the chat box, greet us, and then I'll open up for 2 or 3 people to greet us as we kick off. Oh, great. And I see many people joining. So for those who are just joining, we are just getting started and I have already welcomed everybody. This is an amazing evening that we've been looking forward to. Everybody has been anticipating this webinar. No one wants to miss this series as we look back and celebrate these 10 years of amazing impact of Lapid Leaders Africa. So we have said, reach out on the chat box, say hello to someone. Could be someone you know. This is a time to network. I'm giving you a chance to network and welcome each other. And then I'm going to invite 1 or 2 people to greet us as we get started. Aha.
Yeah, hello.
There is a gentleman here who wants to say hi.
Yeah,
Onyango
hi.
Emmanuel says hi. Thank you, Emmanuel. Aha, I see you.
Hello.
Hello, please introduce yourself and greet us.
Yeah, so my name is Joshua. I'm glad to be in this forum. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to networking with you guys. I'm from Dekut. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Welcome. Are you in Nyeri right now?
Yeah, I'm in Nyeri at the SK show.
Ah, wonderful. Great to have you, Joshua. You can share this link with your friends. Let the comments join in.
Okay.
And let's go together.
So I'll just give
Aha. Great. Many people are joining. I see Mary from University of Nairobi. Oh, they say the University of Nairobi. Sorry, Mary. It's the University of Nairobi. Welcome. Welcome, comrade. I see many people joining. For those who are just joining, we are just beginning and you have not missed anything. If you haven't picked your coffee, I always say at this stage, this time to pick your coffee, sip it, sit back and learn. Because this evening is going to be an amazing evening. If you were here last week, you can already predict the level of conversations and the level of learning that this evening is going to have. So before we get started, I want to take this opportunity to invite my colleague, Leon, to take us through the beginning stages as we proceed. Leon, if you can hear me.
Hi, Caleb. I think maybe you can get to hear from a few people who can also say hi to us, and then maybe I'll be able to take over the session.
Thank you, Leon. So I open this up to anybody who wants to say hi. You can just lift your hand, and then I'll be able to see you, and then you can give you opportunity to greet us. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Ngashi, Yukabeth, Wanjiro Irungu. And there is somebody, a great person called Great Hepzibah. You want to greet us, Hepzibah?
Yes, hello, hi. I hope everyone is doing well today.
Yes, we are doing well. Thank you. Do we have anybody from MKU? I see Team University of Nairobi. Anybody from Riara? You can just lift your hand in the chat. I will see you. Anybody from USIU? Kenyatta University? Okay, great. So as I had said in the beginning, this is an evening that we have been looking forward to, greatly anticipating to learn from our pioneers. Lapid Leaders Africa has been here for the past 10 years, impacting young people, creating change, and influencing a new trajectory in the industry in Africa. From last week, we have been listening from our pioneers, and we have called this webinar A Decade of Transformation, Voices from Our Pioneers. This evening, we are so excited to be joined by, again, 3 amazing pioneers who will be introduced later. No one wants to miss this. If you have checked up our LinkedIn posts, you have seen how we are looking forward to this. So I want to invite you once again. My name is Caleb Mohwana. I am from Lapid Leaders Africa, and it is my pleasure to invite you all to this amazing evening of learning. Wherever you are tuning in from, feel free to share this link with anybody. They can follow us live. We are on LinkedIn. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat. And also at the end of this session, please stay with us because we have a section where we will be interacting. You can ask questions. And I hope you have your notebook and your pen because You don't want to let anything pass by you. So without further ado, and I know that my colleague Leon is now ready, I want to invite Leon to take us through the next steps, even as we proceed. Thank you and welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Caleb. Hi, everyone. It is so good to see all of you in today's session. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Leon Karaoke. I currently work and serve at Lapid Leaders Africa as a programs associate, and I'm so glad that you've been able to make time to join today's webinar. Feel free to use the chat box. Feel free to ask any questions about Lapid even as we proceed with the session. The chat box is there for you to interact with. Also, please feel free to have your camera on. It helps so much to actually see some faces as well in the session. Your usernames are awesome, but it's even better to get to see some of your faces as well. So allow me to just do an introduction again about Lapid Leaders Africa. This is interacting with Lapid. If maybe you're a new applicant who just recently applied for the program, it's important that you just get to learn who we are as Lapid Leaders Africa, and also just learn about the pillars and all that Lapid has been up to for the past 10 years. We are celebrating 10 years, and we're so excited to be announcing very many interesting and fun and wonderful things that we'll be doing as Lapid. So allow me to get into just a brief introduction about who we are as Lapid, and also just get to share a video from our CEO. She'll be coming in to join the session and get to share as well. So stay tuned for that. So just as a brief introduction, Lapid Leaders Africa is a leadership development organization, and we are based in Nairobi, Kenya. Lapid is an exceptional platform that envisions, empowers, and nurtures the next generation of African leaders. Our mission is to revolve around fostering leadership skills, mentorship, and personal growth amongst young African leaders across the continent of Africa. We execute this and one of our key programs, of which intake actually open, includes one, the Lead Self pillar, or what we like to call the flagship pillar. So it's the flagship program, which is split into 3 key pillars. That is the Lead Self pillar, the Lead Marketplace pillar, and the Lead Africa pillar. We'll be getting more information concerning that in the video. We also have what we call the Lapid Crossroads program, and this is for professionals with work experience of over 5 years. So we'll be giving you more details about the program even as the session continues. But for now, allow me to project the video so that you can get to hear from our CEO and also get to discover who we are as Lapid Leaders Africa.
My name is Esther Mwaniki. I am the founder and CEO of Lapid Leaders Africa. I founded Lapid Leaders Africa with the primary goal being to ignite prowess among the next generation of African leaders. Our goal was and still is to develop the next generation into change makers, people who will make a difference within the continent. We run 3 fantastic programs within Lapid Leaders Africa. The first one is Crossroads program, the second one is a digital apprenticeship program, and the last one is our flagship program. Crossroads program seeks to equip young professionals with management skills and leadership skills to enable them to be able to drive change within the organizations that they are in. We work with young professionals who have about 5 years of experience up until 10 years of experience. The digital apprenticeship program seeks to place our students within small and growing businesses, and the young leaders would then serve these in terms of providing them with digital marketing and data analytics, and ultimately enable them to be able to build into the business's operation efficiencies and expand the markets that they serve. The last program, and is one of my favorite programs, is flagship program that serves university students and recent graduates and equip them with the skills, the mindset, the experiences, the networks that they need to be able to successfully transition to the marketplace and ultimately to be able to drive change in those marketplaces. The flagship program is broken down into distinct pillars. The first one is Lead Self, Lead Marketplace, and ultimately Lead Africa. Lead Self is one of my favorite pillars, and it focuses on building the self-awareness of our young leaders. We also focus heavily on building their mindsets. And so we are constantly asking, what does it look like for you to understand the opportunities in Africa and ultimately to become a change maker within the continent? We attach the young leaders to coaches and mentors who work with them to enable them to understand themselves and ultimately to be able to be purposeful in their careers. The Lead Marketplace pillar focuses on job readiness and workplace preparedness. And because of that, we have a lot of conversations around personal branding, around and we enable them to get career coaching that helps them to be able to understand themselves from a career perspective. Lastly, we have the Lead Africa pillar, and the Lead Africa pillar focuses on helping the young leader understand themselves as a Pan-African. And because of that, we equip them with entrepreneurial skills, we attach them to various businesses and expose them to various businesses where they're able to see the practical side of being a change maker and building a business. At the end of the Lead Africa pillar, we provide our young leaders with an opportunity to be able to travel to a country within the region. In the past, we've done Rwanda, we've sent some students to Ethiopia, to Zambia, and the goal of each of these trips is to enable them to build a Pan-African mindset. By the end of 2021, we will have developed over 1,000 young leaders, and we're anticipating the next 5 years, we will develop 15,000 young men and women who will drive change within the continent of Africa. We'd like to invite all young leaders across the continent to apply for the program. If you're an ambitious young leader who looks to build a purposeful career and who's looking to be part of a community of people who will make a difference within the continent of Africa, you need to apply for this program. If you're a parent to a young leader and you're looking to ensure that they are on the right momentum, if you would like your young leaders to be part of a community of people who will challenge your young man or woman to be the best version of themselves, you have to support them to join this program. Enable them financially, emotionally, and support them throughout the program. And lastly, we would love to build a village of partners that we will work with to accelerate the work that we are doing within this continent. Our goal is to reimagine the possible, and we invite you to partner with us in this. Partner with us as an employer, partner with us through funding the programs, but ultimately partner with us to reimagine the possible within the continent of Africa.
Right. So I hope you've got to hear from our CEO the story of Lapid, the foundations, the drive, and the impact. And for real, for sure, when we say this is our 10th birthday, it is such a great milestone for us here at Lapid Leaders Africa. And that is why we are so excited that we have gathered here to learn and hear from the best. I do not know what stood out for you in that video about the story of Lapid, but let me just tell you that as we mark our 10th anniversary of impact and touching lives and creating change makers that will bring change in the spaces where they are in this continent, we are running a special cohort. We are recruiting for a special cohort to mark this milestone. And if you are out there, you are joining us for the first time, or you have applied or not yet applied for this cohort, I just want to inform you that this is the cohort that is going to be one of the best. It is going to be one of the cohorts that marks a major milestone in our life as Lapid Leaders Africa. So I want to invite you to learn more about this special cohort. I want to invite you to be keen to listen, to know everything that it takes for you to be part of this cohort. Maybe you are in a university and you're about to complete. Maybe you are a recent graduate, or maybe you are in your master's degree, or you are a young professional who has worked for a short period and you are struggling with self-discovery and sense of direction. And maybe you lack the networks and the capacity to launch yourself into the next level as you begin your career. This is the program for you. And it is such a special cohort that you don't want to miss, because it includes boot camps. It includes, in-person sessions that are very, very amazing and very interactive. So this special anniversary cohort is targeting senior students, third years and fourth years, master students, those who are doing their graduate program, and young professionals. And we have packed activities. We have, amazing networking opportunities in this program that you don't want to miss out on this. So stay tuned. In our chat, we will be sharing the link for applications. In our chat, we'll be sharing more details. And even after this webinar, we will be sharing more materials on how you can prepare to be part of this 10th cohort. If you watched that video and you heard from our CEO, I'm sure you do not want to miss out on this program. So before I continue, allow me at this point in time to welcome back my colleague, Leon, that he may bring to us our host tonight, an amazing lady who is our own founder, the CEO of Lapid Leaders Africa. You heard from her. This is a lady that carries the desire to drive change, and she has been doing this for the past 10 years. And today, as I had said earlier, we hear from people who are looking back and reflecting on what has Lapid, lessons from Lapid experience impacted my career journey. What has Lapid experience done to change my outlook of life, my outlook of career? They are into spaces of their professions in entrepreneurship and other spaces, and they're making amazing milestones wherever they are. So, Leon, if you are ready, you can just bring us our CEO, introduce her, and then we can proceed from there.
All right, thank you so much, Caleb. So allow me to introduce our host for today. Our host is our founder and CEO at Lapid Leaders Africa. Her name is Esther Mwaniki. She is a lead facilitator at Lapid Leaders Africa. She is a holder of Master's of Public Service Administration from the New York University. She is an alumni of Kenyatta University, where she pursued a bachelor's degree in commerce, accounting option. Esther wears many hats. She is a seasoned writer, strategic risk manager, civic innovator, a leader, and a generational healer. She is passionate about the development of people, processes, and systems of organizations in Africa. She founded Lapid Leaders Africa in 2014, and some of her highlights in her career journey have been that she has been recognized by the Obama Foundation and awarded as an Obama Fellow. She's also been awarded an African Women in Public Service Fellowship by Oprah Winfrey. So allow me in welcoming and introducing our host for today, Ms. Esther Mwaniki, to take over the session.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for that introduction, Leon. Thank you, Caleb, for that introduction as well. It's nice to see us all. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I also wanted to confirm that we are live on LinkedIn before we go on. And I will also be bringing on to this space the speakers for today, who I don't know if they've been introduced. If they've not, let me know and I will introduce them.
they've not been introduced yet.
Okay, so I'll introduce the speakers for today. Are we live on LinkedIn, or do we need to give you a few minutes?
We can give it you can give me a few minutes.
Okay, as Leon goes live and he will let us know when he's done, I want to introduce the people who've joined me for this session. And we've been joined by somebody I consider my friend. She's called Joyanne Wawero. Joyanne Wawero was part of cohort 3 and now serves as an operations manager in a company that she will tell us about. I've seen her grow from a development. I still remember even the course she did. The course that she did was in the space of development, and I've seen her move from development to business and now into operations. And I'm looking forward just to interacting with her and sort of just seeing her engage in this space. Karibu sana Joyanne, kindly switch on your camera and then also give me hosting rights so that I'm able to add her into the main, into spotlight her. But Joyanne, it's nice to see you. Then we'll also be joined by Steven Derito. Steve was part of the first cohort, and I will make fun of him. I don't know if I can't see him. I don't know if he's here. I hope he is. But Steve did the cohort twice. I think he did cohort 1 and then he did cohort 2. And at some point, we were talking about him as a person who will do a PhD in Lapid, and has served in many places. Has served within the community service leadership. He'll tell us about that. Was always passionate about entertainment. And so he moved from entertainment, he got into a fellowship in technology, moved to Nigeria, started a business there, and then somewhere along the way landed back. Some of it I know, some of which I don't know. And I'm looking forward to hearing from him and learning sort of the journey that he has gone through in that process of going into business. Steve Derito, I'm not sure if you're here. If you are, kindly switch on your camera, even if it's a minute or so. As I wait to have the ability to add you here. Yes, now I have the ability. So I'll be adding people. Joyanne, I'll add you in a short while. Add pin is what it is. Yes. Steve, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining this place. Steve has been running some of the coaching sessions for some of the alumni, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you for the way you're stepping up and sort of taking up additional responsibilities. It's a joy to see you all. Also, we've been joined by Steve Kanyi. Steve Kanyi was part of cohort 3. He was what I remember him doing a degree in engineering. I can't remember that it was civil atatuambia, but he'd done an engineering degree and had plans. I don't know if you remember these, I have those memories, but he had plans to spend time in the online space, ended up shifting towards software engineering, and has done his software engineering in many spaces. At some point, he was in South Africa. I understand that now he's in Japan. We haven't caught up in a while. I'm looking forward to hearing that, and I understand it's very late wherever he is. So Kanyi, thank you for joining us. Please switch on your cameras, ili utusalimie, and then I will also add you. Kanyi, you can hear me?
Yeah.
It's nice to see you, Kanyi. Thank you guys for joining in this session. I really appreciate it. For those who this is the first time you're joining us, this is the second webinar that we are running in a series that we will be spending with some alumni. It's part of our celebration for the last 10 years of Lapid. I will do a very quick introduction of myself, and then I'll give each of them an opportunity to share a bit about themselves. Joyanne and Steve, I want to see you guys, so please feel free to keep your cameras on. So I left formal employment in 2014 to start Lapid. I'm an accountant by training. Did a proper job of being an accountant because I had every intention of being a proper accountant. So did a Bachelor of Commerce in accounting, did a CPA in accounting, got a job with PwC. PwC is one of the leading audit firms in the market, and was set towards the space of being a proper accountant. Worked with them for about 8 years, 2 years in UK, and got into the UK market during the financial services crisis. It was called the credit crunch. I've always been very passionate about the financial services sector. Was involved in sort of the big mergers locally. When I moved to UK, was involved in the merger of what was called the HBOS, Legacy HBOS, and Legacy Lloyds, and saw it become into the Lloyds banking group. but I still had a heart for this country, this continent. People used to make fun of me. Every 3 months I would come back home, and it didn't make sense. When people go abroad, they stay away. Mimi, I was those ones. Every 3 months I was here, and then I'd complain about our traffic. I'd complain about how people drive on roundabouts because I couldn't get it. But every 3 months I was back. So I actually came back before my 2-year secondment was over. I still remember talking to one of the leaders in the farm that I was working for, telling him, I'm coming back. Do you guys have a job for me or not? Me coming back wasn't optional, which was also unusual because most people would ask for extensions, but that just goes to say how clear I was of what my assignment was, and that assignment belonged in this continent. So worked with them for a year, moved. So in total, finished 8 years there, moved into the banking space, and I was the head of risk and compliance for a bank called FinaBank then. It's now called GT Bank. I was one of their youngest senior managers. Loved that I was involved in the financial services space. As I mentioned, that's always been a place that interests me. But bigger than the financial services was the assignment around what does it look like for us to develop the continent into its fullest potential. And around then did some form of analysis, and the answer just came towards the bigger thing is to ask, what does it look like for us to work with young people, to help them to sort of understand themselves better, understand their role in the marketplace, and leverage on that to ultimately be able to lead Africa. And that's why you hear when we talk about our pillars, we talk about lead self, to lead marketplace, and ultimately to lead Africa. And I just had an understanding that if we're going to change this continent, we must do the work of first understanding ourselves, because ultimately the place of adding value is in self first. And then secondly, to be able to understand the marketplace. And lastly, to be able to then be able to lead Africa. And so that was 2014. I was young, naive, and very hopeful. I probably am less young, less naive. I think I'm still very hopeful, but perhaps have shifted in many ways. And the goal of this was first for me to just be able to remember the journey that we've gone through and celebrate the wins of those 10 years. I'm a big believer that before people can move forward, they must have the capacity to look backwards and be able to leverage on the backwards to build the next 10. And so this is part of that process. And so we've been on an intentional process of sitting with what are the wins, what are the challenges, what are the processes of the last 10 years. And those are anchored on the people in this screen. And that is the introduction, or the long introduction, of why these guys are here. And so what I sat and asked was, who are the people that I would consider some of the pioneer alumni, people who are very invested in the mission and the vision for Lapid? And those are the people that I see on this screen. And so I start with saying a very big thank you to Joyanne. Joyanne was the president of the council in 2016? 2016, yes.
Yes, 2016.
2016, and did such a fantastic job of bringing together that cohort. And we'll talk about that a bit more. Kanyi was serving in that same council. He was responsible for conference and events. I don't know if he remembers that. I remember very well. And just watching you putting together the thinking for those conference and events, and that has formed as a base for some of the work that we do today. So thank you for that work that you did then. And then Steve Nderito started in, I still remember, community service. And I remember you going to Kibagare Primary School with such commitment every week to make sure that the participants were doing the community service with a level of excellence that we represent. And so I just start with first saying a very big thank you to each one of you for investing yourselves heavily in the process for Lapid, for being the best of yourselves. And I am very proud of each one of you, and the men and the women that you are, even more than anything else. So asanteni sana for being here. So we will do this in a very interactive way. They've been given some questions. I'm not even sure if I am going to do questions. We're going to figure this thing out. We'll start with sort of just us saying who we are, what matters to you in whatever sense that looks like. Yes, an introduction of who you are is where we will start. We will start with you, Nderito, because you're in my book, one of the elders. So perhaps you go first. Just a quick introduction of yourself, what matters to you, and anything else you'd like to add there, and then we'll go round.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Esther. I trust and I hope I'm very audible. Yes, thank you so much for having me on this session. I'm super elated, but also very humble as well. It's been 10 years of amazing things, and I couldn't help when I was watching the video of the vision, and I'm a living testimony of that vision. And I was just counting 9 years into these, and I'm so grateful to be part of Lapid Leaders Africa. So yeah, as Esther has said, my name is Stephen Derito. I currently I'm a product manager working in the fintech and financial services space. But yes, I'm very passionate about technology, financial services, mostly around payments and integrations and all that. So yeah, what I would say really fights me. I think that's why I had from you as that. Number one is God. God being the anchor of my life. I think one thing that you cannot take away from Lapid is that how when every other thing tries to kind of try to be very neutral when it comes to things of God, I think Lapid was also one of the aspects that also helped me to anchor my faith in God and also trusting God in this journey as well. Secondly, family. I'm very much passionate about family as well. But most important as well, I'm also very passionate about community, and that is the African community as well. Trying to build solutions around Africa using technology, and yeah, Esther, I'm no longer doing music and entertainment, so I just transitioned from that, and maybe you're going to hear much about that as we proceed. Yeah, thank you.
I love that. And I'm looking forward to hearing about that transition. But I love where you've started. One of the things that we are unapologetic about our faith and our walk with God. I think there's an increasing fear of faith and political correctness around that. I believe in the power of authenticity, whatever that looks like. And for us, it looks like a deep faith in God. And I'm happy that you're able to bring that on the table. Thank you, Steve. I'm looking forward to hearing more. Can you go next?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for inviting me to this session. So on LinkedIn, you guys were celebrating, or we were celebrating 10 years. Super happy to have been part of that. I get asked here and there what exactly Lapid is, and the only answer I have, I don't think I would be where I am if I didn't go to Lapid. The people I met there and the friendship I made there has shaped the person I am today. So that said, my name is Stephen Kanye. I'm from Kenya. I was raised and born in Nakuru. I've been, just to correct with the message that you are sending out, I didn't do civil engineering. I did chemistry. And at the end of it,
chemical engineering or chemical something.
It was analytical chemistry in Jomo Kenyatta
Yes.
University. I just went and gave my parents the degree, and then I pursued what I liked. And that's why I'm in tech now. Currently, in Japan, so it's almost 1 a.m. or 2 going to 2 a.m., but happy to be here.
Thank you, Kanye, for taking the time at 1, 2 a.m. to be here. I am grateful for that. And I like what you brought to the plate around the power of community. We had a meeting this past week, and some of you know Derek was part of it. And we were talking about the biggest thing that Lapid does is not even so much the classes. It's the community that people form that then become people who you can do life with. And I think that's what I'm hearing you lifting here as sort of the power of community and how community has shaped you. And I'm looking forward to hearing a bit more about that. Asante, Joyanne.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joyanne. Currently, I'm an operations manager at a construction firm. It's called Quintet Construction. As Esther had mentioned earlier, I did my undergrad in development studies, but realized my passion in operations. So I moved towards that, and I'm currently pursuing my MBA at UON, and I've seen several classmates. So hi, everyone from UON. So yes, what I'm passionate about is what Steve has also mentioned, just cultivating a community that you'll do life together with. And I believe during our time of service with Steve, that's when we formed our bond and relationship, and we've carried that throughout all these years. We've always been in touch with each other, and other people who we served with, and even served after we finished our service. So yes, I'm also quite big on just having a healthy work culture. So that's something I'm also very passionate about. So, thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about that. And I want to lift, first of all, what you said about service. I think one of the bigger things that is big in Lapid is people go through the program and join what we call the Lapid Leaders Council. And that's sort of a volunteer body that enables people to serve the incoming cohorts. Initially, it used to be you serve the incoming cohort and then you leave. Now it has become a lifelong job, which is what it was always meant to be. And that is missing Joyanne. I am looking forward to you coming back and doing some additional work around the council. So I love the things that you're all saying. And maybe let me start with a question around breaking the mold. One of the things that we're sitting with in the last 10 years is, I think one of the bigger things that Lapid has done is break from the mold. For my personal self, it was breaking the mold from what looked like a professional career that was taking a certain direction, and breaking the mold and rewriting my own journey in the context of leadership development. And when I look at you, I see people who have in one way or another broken the molds, whatever that means. And so I just want to hear who you were when you joined and in what way you have broken the mold since then. Derito, and then Joanne, I want to see your face a bit just because I know they will probably need to build some clips out of it. So if you can lower your camera, it will help so that we see you really well. Yes, Derito, breaking the mold. What comes for you?
Yeah, super interesting actually. Two things. I think Lapid, just listening from Kanye and also Joyanna as well, and also myself, I think what you studied in campus is not what you're practicing right now. So I can see this consistency of transition from what the society expected us to be and what we thought that was the direction, and also, and then the transition also comes after Lapid. So prior to joining Lapid, I was a club DJ. I was a nightlife club DJ.
I had forgotten that part. DJ. Yes.
Yes, and I think apparently that's the reason as to why I couldn't complete my cohort one. So I was a nightlife club DJs, and these sessions were happening on Saturday. So I used to, for the first cohort, I used to come and just sleep and say to myself, you know what, I have to come back. I'm not to block another 12 weeks and just come back, because it was a very super interesting space to be. So yeah, breaking from the mold. Before joining Lapid, I was super confused, and I think the reason I was into the nightlife and the club DJing and all that, not saying it's a bad space to be, it's because I was trying to find a community, trying to find a space, and trying to find to be in a space that I can at least I can make a name for myself. However, I joined a friend of mine invited me from Lapid. I think Esther, you know, it's DJ I'm super and grateful for this guy. And he told me just come and try and check out Lapid Leaders. I was there for one Saturday, and it's something that I think you will be super interested in. And so after joining Lapid, the sessions as well, it's kind of expanded my experience, kind of expanded my my view of life, in terms of like I became more self-aware of myself. I became more self-aware of my weaknesses, my strengths as well. And also with that as well, it also helped me to transition in a number of spaces as well. Before then, I was pursuing a BA in communication. I had to put that on hold in campus first. And from an opportunity I got from Lapid, from the tribe group, I got a scholarship to go to Ghana and study software entrepreneurship. I was super passionate about technology. And after that, we were able to raise funding around like $200,000 US from two different investors, and I went to Nigeria and started a music startup as well. However, looking back, I'll say Lapid was I'll say before coming to Lapid, I was at crosspath. everything seems to be good. Everything needs to be super confusing. But what I got from Lapid was super good clarity. I did something that was very risky, calling off my campus to pursue something I loved. And up to today, I never regret that decision as well. Of course, after coming back to Kenya, I had to go back to campus and just finish my degree. Right now, I'm also pursuing my master's as well in a different field. But I think that's, for me, that's a journey of breaking from the mold. And for me, it started from becoming more self-aware of myself, and Lapid played a very big part in that.
And I love that. I totally, the reason I'm enjoying these conversations is they're taking me down memory lane. I had forgotten about you as the guy in the DJ and the guy who would show up late in the first cohort, but it's that you stayed on until you finished that I celebrate. But I like what you're saying, because it's a reality of many young people. It's that you are in campus because you're doing a degree that you were told to do, but there's something in your head that tells you this is not me. And then you then go around this cycle of trying to figure out what is not me and what is me. And I think what I'm hearing you say is being part of the community enabled you to find what is you, what is your own voice, and ultimately what's the space that you want to be able to pursue. And I want to lift that up because I find a lot of young people are struggling with that sense of I am confused and feeling lost, but they pretend, because that's what we do, and pretend I am feeling confused, I am feeling lost. But that courage to be able to name, I actually am feeling lost, and this could help me to find myself, is something that I think is an important part of self-awareness. That authentic conversation of, I totally don't even understand why I'm doing what I am doing. And then therefore then going into a journey of exploring that is a big thing that I hear you lifting, and how it then became a journey of self-awareness that answers the question around what you're doing today. And I celebrate that. Can you breaking the mold from the mold?
Thank you. I'd say I have an almost similar story with Steven and Deritu, because I think I joined Lapid on my second semester for the year. I don't know how I found about Lapid, honestly, I can't remember. But I remember it just came me and some few friends on a Saturday to check the classes and to see how they would look like. And after the session that we had that day, I think I liked the session because my views on how I view things were challenged, and I was able to also challenge other people's view. So I knew I wanted to come back for another session, and I think I signed up to the class after. But in that time, the reason why I joined was mainly because the course I was doing is not that I hated it. I did actually enjoy the course all through, but I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing that. So I was trying to find, okay, where is a community I can find that I can say what I'm thinking and get few ideas from. The reason for me joining Lapid was more selfish reason, and it's okay to join something for selfish reason, but it's because I wanted to find for myself if the decision I was trying to make at that time was the correct one, or I was out of my mind, because I was starting to think, do I really need to pursue it or just change? Even though I didn't even know what I wanted to pursue at that time, I just knew I didn't want to stay in the lab for the rest of my life. As soon as I joined Lapid, I met some few people, and actually some of them introduced me to the first company that hired me. So that's was good, and I would say I wouldn't have gotten that to even know about the company if I didn't join Lapid. So that journey alone for me, it changed how not being confined in what do we call societal norms, where you're expected to do something, to do ABC, and you can do BC. Even in my classes, I think I locked head with some few teachers, not in a bad way, but I was very strong in my own opinions, and I believe disagreeing is good. Just do it in a nicer way. So I would say,
Get you back so that you will now disagree with you.
so I say,
teacher you're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, Having different opinions are welcome, but it's good. And I would say Lapid helped me decide it was time for me to switch careers, and that has changed forever. By the time I was leaving Lapid, I had already decided I'm not gonna pursue the career in what I've studied, and I'm gonna pursue career in technology. And that's when I just went home to my parents what I was thinking. They were gracious enough to accept my decisions and supported me for the next few months that I was unemployed until I got a job as a software engineer. So yes, that would be like my journey in finding what to summarize it, I would say Lapid helped me find what I wanted to do in life, because I haven't regretted that decision ever since. So yes.
I love that. I know who brought you. I think it was Eugene Manga. Were you in
Oh
the same
yes, that's
school?
the one. Yes, yes, that
My
yes,
memory
we
for Jesus.
yeah, we were in the same high school. Yes, I remember now.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's how you ended up knowing about Lapid. But I like what you're lifting around. It's understanding what's important to you. And the thing that Lapid allows people to do is to be able to have conversations that challenge status quo. I think a lot of us, and I think that's what you're lifting, a lot of us are very afraid to have conversations with anyone, let alone ourselves. And that, even the fights that you were having, were you looking for your own voice? And the reality is people cannot build self-awareness, cannot build their careers without the ability to voice what they are thinking. There is a respectful process around that was clearly something that we all needed to go through. But that ability to challenge status quo is a very important part of growth, because then that allows you to be able to find your own voice. And then the other thing about being in such a community is you start to realize actually you're not abnormal. Because I think part of the process of when you're struggling with your own process, it feels like you're the most abnormal person. But then you come and find many other abnormal human beings. And that allows you to have the freedom to pursue the person that you think you'd be or you should be. And so then I also hear the question around, should I stay or should I be in motion? And I always tell people, you can get stuck and stay stuck, or you can feel stuck and start some motion. And the process of entering a space like this is about that motion, because then that discomfort of entering such a space starts to clarify things around what matters to you. And I'm going to come back to you in terms of your journey towards the software development world and what that has looked like. Joyanne, breaking from the mold.
So I feel my journey is also quite similar. So how I joined Lapid was my best friend. Her name was Izwanja. Sorry, not was, still Izwanja. Yeah, she was in the previous cohort and she introduced my mom to Lapid and forced me to Lapid. And I remember also, Esther, you played quite a big part because I was very resistant to joining the program. I just finished my coursework at JQuat and I wanted to spend that time just enjoying life, as Steve said. So yes, after that, I feel like you personally, Esther, really, your faith and your belief in me, and you saw something that I had not yet seen in myself. So you really pushed me into becoming the leader that I am right now. So yes, breaking the mold. Again, I feel like the belief system and the support around Lapid has also shaped me into who I am right now. I push people to do their best, and I'm very dedicated in seeing other people succeed. My circle of friends, that is, and other people I get to interact with. So
yep, I love that. And I like where you started with friends who force you. I am that friend, I am that human being. But I think also it's just that you have people around you who do that, Joanne. That's a big thing. One of my favorite records in the Bible is that guy who was sick, and then some people went and they dug a roof and forced the guy to go and get healing. The reason I like that is I think everybody needs friends who will force them to be where they need to be. And I always tell people, if I hadn't I didn't know about a lot of the professional path that I picked, but I had friends who knew about it and they kept forcing me to apply for those jobs. And the reason I say that is because I believe in the power of the people around you. You know, that quote that everybody talks about, that you're as smart as the 5 people around you. And so if you have people around you who are able to push you, that's a big win. Because even if you want to be backwards, at least they will make sure that you're not going to settle for less than what you can be. And also then I love the fact that you're doing it even for other people. I love that I'm hearing that then some of the core values that we represent, which is what I want us to talk about, have become the core values that you represent. And that ability to dedicate yourself to the work that you do, and also then also serve other people becomes an important thing that you have built your professional life around, which is what I want to hear from us. I think one of the things that Lapid talks about a lot is the core values that represent us. And our core values are around excellence, they're around servant leadership, they're around creativity. We're expanding them now, but those 3 have been a big part of who we are. And I'd love to hear from you which core value has influenced you the most and in what way it has influenced you as you've built your professional life and life generally over the last many years. Steve, which core value still resonates with you and how does it show up in your life on a day-to-day basis?
So yes, you have 2 Steves here. There's Kanye.
Oh yes. So in my brain he's called Kanye.
Okay. So this is Steve. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Looking back, actually, I was just like reflecting today as I was just driving back home today on the values that I picked from Lapid, and I've continued to kind of like hold them to these points. One of them is servant leadership. In a space that I am in right now, as a creative in the product technology software space, in fintech, you have to put on the hat of serving the people around you and serving the community around you as well. And with me, servant leadership is an attribute that you pick willingly and unwillingly from Lapid Leaders. I think
yes, unwillingly even.
Because it just exposes you to a point of that you don't exist for yourself, right? You are a fruit, and fruit do not exist for the tree; they exist for others as well. So I think for me, I have seen that consistency of servant leadership in different spaces that I've been a founder, being a product manager, being a business person as well, being entrepreneurship, being a mentor as well. That I'm always looking and seeking for places to serve, because even when I serve, I'm able to learn and pick a lot of things that are along my way. Some of those things that I would have picked if I didn't put that heart of servant leadership. The other one is creativity. For me, creativity is, it is a quote that Esther kept on saying, is that the moment you stop learning, you start dying. And for me, learning is from the point of me touching from my own creativity as well, and always trying to see how then can I challenge the status quo? How then can I do this differently? And I think even that has really worked, even in what I'm doing right now as a product manager, to a point that as a product manager, expected, or I am expected to lead a team to come up with business solution and just like to innovate around business solutions. And if you are not able to tap from your creativity, and that will be a very challenging path for you to take. So with that, Lapid helped me to have, number one, to build on my creativity skill and creativity side as well, but also to have confidence in myself in terms of like, I can build ideas that can be $1 billion ideas. I can build ideas that I can also impact not just my country, not just my town, but also Africa as well. And again, on all things, excellence has to be part of it, because if you're creative, if you're doing servant leadership, shingo upande, that means that you'll never get to the point of fully exploring what the talent or the skill that God has given you, and even like being able to impact fully the space that you're in as well. So excellence is something that that you pick from any Lapida that you meet, and some of them are still my friends as well. Some of them are my best friends as well. One of my best friends is a Lapida as well. And one thing that that kind of actually like puts him very different even for most of my friends, and I'm able to pick very good friends, is the aspect of excellence, right? I'm certain sure that even when I look at him and when I'm able to kind of like delegate something to him, one thing I know he's not going to compromise is on excellence. And I think that's something that's so beautiful that you're going to see within this community.
Yep, and I love that. And I love where you started. Some of these things will be forced. Up front, they look like such a forcing of let's all serve, let's all do the small things with excellence. But I see that today. I remember somebody sent me an email recently and they told me, Esther, the people that I've interacted with in Lapid, the one thing they have in common is they will go the extra mile. And I think that's a big thing that we must continuously continue to feed. And the reason I say that is I tell people the thing that is missing in this continent is that commitment to things above yourself. There's a fear of people being dedicated to things. There's a culture of bare minimum that allows us to get away with things, but we don't. And that's not just in business. I look at it at our governance. And I am currently on a phase of making noise about governance. I'm Gen Z proper. And if we cannot serve this continent or this country with that excellence that it deserves, that's how we'll go and start selling our airports. And it's that commitment to the people, commitment to the quality of service that becomes a very big thing that I enjoy seeing in many of you. Kanyi, one value that has stayed with you?
I would say, thank you so much. I would say the value that has stayed with me so far and I picked through Lapid is excellency. Before Lapid, I just used to just do what I needed to be done, especially in my studies. As long as I passed, that was more than enough. I didn't need to do anything other than that. But after I joined Lapid and we had like projects that we needed to do, you'd see the people you are in the group, how they are putting in extra work in there, and you feel like you're letting the group down. So you start picking up on, okay, you need to also maybe improve on what you're bringing into the table so that your project uh, can be delivered on time and in better quality. So that value I've taken it even in the workplace so far, and whenever I have something I need to do, I I need to make sure I do it to the best I can do, and honestly and respectfully. So therefore, the people who I work with know they can at least rely on me, and they don't have to double check the work because they believe in what I'll deliver to the best that I would have been able to deliver. And that now transition to the whole team. So if you're the person who is ensuring that you're delivering work, all the other team members kind of pick up on it and they start delivering on the projects, and the team start accelerating in terms of the work that they're supposed to have done. And it happens gradually even without you noticing it, but it doesn't die. So the rewards you get in terms of might not be money, but you still get the reward of satisfaction that you have done something. Okay, you're being paid to do it, but you have done something to the best of your level that you could have done. That one I always is something that I'll carry, and whenever I talk to anyone is like they advise me, maybe they're trying to learn something or they're working, I'm like, or they're preparing for an interview, is one thing. Do the level best you think you could have done and then leave the rest. It was out of your control. But if you went there half, then it was actually in your control, but you didn't do the best that you could have done. Yeah.
And I love that because then it becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
And I want to lift what you just said around reliable, that when people work with Kanye, and this is something that I saw even within the council. So let me just lift a few things here. When we were doing the council, we had zero budgets really. And Kanye and his team had to do events. but it's the reliability that they had to build then, that if I'm going to do an open day, I will figure out the solutions for that open day. It's not that I start and I leave things in the middle, and that becomes a culture that even within your teams, people can rely on you. Unfortunately, and I see that a lot with young people, and worse even as we get along, it's people start small things, they leave, they start, they leave, they start, they leave. And because of that, people cannot learn to rely on you, even in the most basic things. Ukisema utalift pen, ni lazima ulize na watu 5. You have to be asked by 5 people, have you lifted your pen? Because you do not have the ability to do small things with excellence. And so I want to leave that as not just, and I think my theory is a lot of these things are, we learn them through the systems around us. We become disempowered to the point where you don't have the ability to manage yourself. And so one of the things that I enjoy about watching all your journeys is the people that you become who are reliable, not because you're paid, because you did it in Lapid without being paid, but because it's a character that you have picked up. And I really admire that, and I'm grateful for it. Joyanne, a value that has stayed with you?
The one value that has stayed with me is servant leadership. So throughout my serving at Lapid and even right now, I believe in being a leader that you always immerse yourself in an opportunity to learn. You learn from your team, you learn from others. That helps you grow and serve them better. So that, I believe, was the one value I picked out and also helped me when I was serving as the president for my council. I used to immerse myself in the various departments and go there to serve, go there to learn from the leaders of those various departments. It's something I've still carried on to work. And always also on excellence, I agree. I've also picked up that I'm dedicated to what I do and I do it well. So same as Steve, once I do something, I believe no one needs to counter check. It's always important, of course, to counter check because we are all humans and we all make mistakes. But it's just a faith that I've seen my current boss has in me because of that. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I am convinced that, and you work for a startup, and we'll talk about that in a short while, but I'm convinced that businesses in Kenya are taking longer to break free from startup because the talent is not able to become reliable and excellent talents. So one of the things that I think, Joyanne, you have done for your business, and this is because I have some sites over it, is you give your boss the capacity to focus on the business development. And you do that by making sure that the job that is on your plate, which is operations, you do it with excellence. You do it with dedication. Now, if your boss is going to do business development and have half his leg monitoring the small things or the big things that you're doing, then you rob the business its capacity to grow. And so that excellence, that servant leadership allows you to be able to have a capacity to build an organization for yourself and for the next person. Because as long as that organization is doing well, you have a job, important, but also several other people have jobs and many others will have jobs. But there is a culture that we have to fight a lot, even within Lapid, as people walk in, of bare minimum, of survival, of why must I go the extra mile, that then drags the country, drags the businesses, and ultimately drags us as individuals. And so I want to lift that ultimately when people do excellence, it looks like it's for people and it's for businesses, but in the end, it's for yourself. And the other thing that you're saying about service, I think is what makes you a very good operations professional. It's that when you are serving in the council, you must spend time breaking down tasks, which is what you were doing. I think you were fresh from campus and you had to break down tasks in the learning labs. You had to break down tasks in conference and events. You had to break down tasks in community service. And that's ultimately what prepares you to become an operations professional that you are today. And I say that to say many people go to classes and there are very many places that you can go to get sort of like leadership development. But I think one of the bigger things that Lapid does really well is immerse you in practical experiences that force you to grow those values. And I want to come back to you, Joyanne. So when I met you, you were doing development studies, and then you ended up doing business analysis in Blue Venture. Nakumbuka jina, sifai kutumia majina. And then after that, now I'm in the space of operations. And I just want to talk about the journey of evolving. What have you enjoyed and what have you struggled with? And speak specifically to someone here who's doing dev studies. They don't know it yet, but 10 years from now, there will be operations. So what has been your journey with that evolution of the person you thought you were when you were finishing campus, the person you are today? And what have you enjoyed and what have you struggled with in that evolution?
Okay, so yes, I did development studies, and when I was joining campus, I was very sure and very passionate I'll be a community service person, community development. And that's what pushed me towards development studies. So, but after I joined Lapid, as Steve had mentioned, Kani that is, all the jobs that I'm currently working, all the jobs I've worked have been through networking in Lapid. It's just someone I networked with or a friend I've made through the years who linked me to the job. So my first job, I still remember, was customer service, which was, it was tough. It was immediately after campus, I had not graduated, and I didn't like it. But it's something that I've, over the years, come to appreciate, and I can see the skills that I learned from there, the hardships, they've shaped me into who I am. In business, it's customers are everything. And customer service, unfortunately, is a skill that most African and especially Kenyan businesses lack. They don't value their customers or want to cultivate that relationship. So that first experience has, at our organization, the organization I'm currently working at, customer service is very huge. And I believe my customer service, when I came to the company, we didn't have really good customer service, but it's a culture I've cultivated. And whenever anyone calls or just walks in our company, they feel appreciated, and they always tend to come back just because of the few things you do. The smiling, offering just refreshment, just the tiny things that you wouldn't expect would please someone. So that has also helped in my journey where I'm currently at in operations. Just the small things, appreciating your team, just ensuring that the processes are effective and they're working and they're running well. You know, it's just the small things that I've picked up in Lapid, I picked up at my career, at my jobs, various jobs that I started that, yes.
And I missed a small part of what you said, but I like I'll just leave some of the things that what you just said that I like. Though a lot of people go to campus, some people don't like the course they go to do. But some people go and do a course in HR and they're sure that that is what their lives will be in HR. I tell people that's a very limiting way of thinking, because life is life. There are many things about life that you don't know. And so it's having that ability to start with what you know, but also allow the journey to teach you and evolve, that I celebrate about you, Joyanne. And it's something that I want to share with all of us. Please understand that even if you're doing whatever course you're doing right now, life is not those straight line things. Life is what it becomes. And that flexibility, that learner mindset, that learner spirit that says, where I land, I make the best out of it, is one of the bigger things that I think you have done and have had, Joyanne. And then also I like what you said about thinking in terms of skills. It may not be your favorite job. You may not like the customer service job, but what skills are you building as you interact there? And those skills then become things that you're able to build up later on. I also know, and I don't know if you talked about this in between my frozenness. But I think also your time in the business analysis enabled you to understand business in a very comprehensive way. And so then by the time you land in operations, and even this will continue to evolve, you have a development studies background, you have a customer service background, you have a business analysis background, and that then ultimately adds up into a journey in operations. And so, and having that flexibility, and or having people like Esther and Wanja who will force you to be flexible, so that then you go picking up from the journey the things that you need to pick up to become the professional that you're looking forward to being ahead. And for you, Kanyi, the question that I am sitting with is just also still your evolution. Though I don't know if you remember this, but there's a time me and Kanyi went and had coffee somewhere. And he was just about to finish campus. And Kanye was thinking about going to set up an online business in Mombasa. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the shift that you've done from chemistry something to then you did quite a bit of online and then ultimately towards the software space. What are some of the things that you've learned around evolving? Because you've had to evolve in industries, but also in countries. And just tell us some of the lessons you've been learning around evolving.
Okay, thank you. I think, as I said earlier, when I was studying chemistry, I think this is a problem for most of the Kenyan people when you go to do something in campus just because you are good at it in high school. And that's what happened to me. In my mind, or when I was a child, I just wanted to do CSIs. If you have watched those movies, I just wanted to do be able to solve crimes and whatnot. And chemistry was the best thing that I could do that could drive me there. And that's why I was even paying attention to it during my high school life. But when I was on my third year is when I think reality started hitting me because I wouldn't get an internship which would have been doing for free, and no companies was willing to give me that opportunity. And that's when I started rethinking my choices in terms of, do I really want to be stuck here and where I'm gonna be begging people, or can I do something? So that's when I started thinking maybe I'm gonna start business. At the same time, I was doing online writing as many university students do to survive. So I was trying to see if I can expound the online business because I was lucky enough to have started early. So whoever here have done online writing knows good accounts is like everything in those kind of jobs. So my account was good at that time. It's no longer good because I don't use it. But I was trying to see if I can expand it, and me and my friends who we were doing the same thing, we were trying to go set up a shop in Mombasa, hire writers, and our work would just be to get as much job as we can and hire people to do it. And yes, I think by the time the Lapid was journey was coming to the end is when now and then I realized I don't think I'm a business person. I think the main thing I
Thank
learned
God.
from Lapid from Lapid is being able to identify my weaknesses, and I learned business needs for you to be able to talk to people as much as you can. I don't like it. It's one of my weakness. I've been trying to work on it, but it's not a good trade if you're starting, if you want to go to business, because you want to be able to do sales and whatnot. So I just tapped into what I think I know. And in campus, the best skills I learned from campus is being able to think beyond what I've been learning in school. And at that time is when I realized, okay, I think I love tech because I had a laptop at that time. And during my free time, all I could find myself doing was learning how to code even without being forced. So I just fall back to that. And I was like, the thing I like to do on my free time, I think that's what I would do. I should be doing. And for the time that I have instead of chasing something that I don't enjoy. And that's how I found myself in tech, essentially through. And at that rough time is when I found Lapid, I think, at the right time.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. But I hear some things that you're saying that are important to lift. I love the fact that when you're in campus, you are building a business. I don't think it matters whether it succeeded or not. And I say this often, it's the skills that you are building. You are learning to manage people. You are learning to manage yourself. Managing an account of 500 people, whatever the case may be, it needs a level of self-management. And I always advocate for, as opposed to going through campus and finishing to start a job, go through campus with some things that you can do on the side. And the reason that's important is it helps you with the next thing that I hear him talking about, which is self-awareness. The bigger gap that many people have is they don't know themselves. They don't know the things they are good at. They don't know the things that interest them. And because they don't know that, they're not then able to build intentional careers. And I think your understanding of yourself is perhaps one of the bigger things that have enabled you to build your career very intentionally. To be able to say, I am very good at analysis. I remember in fact having a conversation and saying chemistry is about analyzing chemical things. That is the bigger picture. It doesn't need to become a career in chemical, whatever the case may be. It is, what am I good at? I'm good at coding. I'm good at analyzing. How do I use those things to be able to build a career that's meaningful? And I think that's one of the bigger things that Lapid allows people to do, to understand yourself. Because if you understand yourself, you stop trying to be anybody else. One of the bigger modules that we had is, it's called Free to Be Self, now it's called Authentic Leadership, but it just allows you to understand that your greatest power is in you understanding yourself and following your own path. And then thinking beyond, I've forgotten why I wrote that. And Derito, for you as well, a lot of evolution. And I want to now sit for you with business. I remember doing the DJ and then this opportunity for guys to go to Ghana to do, to apply for tech. It was a tech fellowship at MEST. It was called Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. He went alongside a few other Lapid guys, and I think you guys were there for a year. And then you set up a business. And I want to shift towards that. Business is a headache. You're one of the very few people with the capacity for those headaches. And I just want to hear your journey from Lapid to Ghana to setting up in Nigeria. What are some of the things that journey taught you about yourself and about business? Do you need a bit more time?
I think it's such a broad but also very intense question, because it needs me to kind of reflect on that journey. One thing that I think I've come to really appreciate from that journey, again, let's just start from self-awareness. When I was in campus, I was doing 1,001 things. I was a DJ, I was a student, I had an online marketplace for selling DJ equipment. I think at one point, Esther, I invited you for a TV show as well. So I was doing 1,001 things. And so that journey for me, doing a lot of those 1,001 things, what that meant is that I was just digging wide and not deep. And so for me, transitioning from now being a DJ to now going to MEST and being there for, just settling there for 1 year and just learning new skills around business and all that, I kind of felt that it's a place that exposed me to myself in terms of understanding who I am, what I live for, what are my values, and what are my strengths, and even much importantly, what are my weaknesses as well. And through that, I was able to play at my areas of strength, right? I knew that, yes, business, tech was good, social entrepreneurship was good, and I was trying, but I felt much more that I was now, my strengths were around bringing guys together, community-based businesses, creative businesses, something that just brings people together as well. Even now narrowing down to such a specific space in business to understand that I'm not just supposed to be in any business, because if I'm in business, I'm just selling software, I will not thrive into that. Kind of finding myself and also identifying myself and knowing this is a path that I need to follow as well. The journey was a bit rough, was a bit risky, because you're leaving your country and to go to a different country to meet people that you don't know. And luckily enough for me, and I had a number of Lapid leaders that we were just like 3 of us. And so I had a small community. So the lessons around that is that what I've come to realize and also appreciate is that nothing goes to waste. Right now, I'm not doing business, but I'm leading financial and fintech and payments as a product manager for 4 different countries. What I learned from Ghana is that one, it helped me to be very confident and not arrogantly confident, but being confident about myself in the right things. The second thing is also that journey helped me to understand is that I cannot build anything substantial in this work if, number one, I don't strive for excellence, or if all I live for is just to check boxes. I was one of the people that had very limited opportunities, and I knew that from the beginning. And so what I did, and this part of also self-awareness, is that I knew that I had to maximize on opportunities that I got from the word go. And through that, with that, maybe I don't have a lot of opportunities. What that meant is that I had to give my best in everything that I got. And that again also just comes to excellence as well. So the skills that I've learned and I've been able to practice is that, number one, that the journey of entrepreneurship starts with the number one, with self-awareness, building on your skills, understanding your strengths, and most importantly as well, striving to serve people around you. And through that, I found myself in spaces and opportunities have always been chasing me. I think I was just telling my friends the other day that I've never been, by the grace of God, I've never been out of employment, even for a day, right? And I'm just like recommendations upon recommendations upon recommendations upon recommendations. But that has been through the skills that I picked in business. I'm no longer doing business, but those skills have become very integral in me, and that have also helped me to kind of unpackage myself to understand that who I am in that space as well. It's something like this. My CEO always says that the lessons that you're picking and the things that you're doing right now might be very hard, but the lessons that we pick along that journey will stick with us forever. And I think that for me has been my mantra, that whatever I'm doing right now, it might be very tough, but the lessons and the skills that I pick through that journey will definitely stick with me forever.
I love that. And I love the perspective that you have over it. I want to lift a few things. I am an advocate of what you did. If you're in campus and you have, explore as much as possible. There's somebody who was in the office today and they're telling me when I was in second year, I did 100 things. I was in 100 clubs. I told her, go for it if you have the capacity for it. What that does is it allows you to explore what interests you have, explore what strengths you have, or explore what weaknesses that you have. So it may look like you are lost, but I think that 1001 thing is actually the right place to start, because as you start there, then you learn quite a bit about yourself, and that allows you to go wide. I like the way you said it, going wide. But at some point, you also must go deep. And to be able to say, so I have explored all these things. What are the spaces that now I want to exploit? And I want to make sure that I learn. And actually, this is one of the bigger philosophies we have in Lead Marketplace of explore and exploit. Explore, wide, go wide, and then go deep. And I hear you say that now that's exactly what ended up happening for you. And then the power of understanding your strengths. I tell people you don't know yourself until you've worked with people. You do not know yourself until you've worked with people. There's a way people tend to be a mirror of humanity. I think there's a class I run called for Ubuntu, and one of the things that we talk about, it's actually a call that we brought together for Kenyans and Californians. So what I did mention, somewhere along the way, I landed in a fellowship that has allowed me to do quite a bit of work between here and the US, and I like it. And one of the calls that we had recently brought some young people from US to connect with young people in Kenya, and we talk about Ubuntu. And one of the bigger definitions for Ubuntu is we are each other's medicine. I love that. We are each other's medicine. And it speaks to the fact that humans are each other's mirrors. And what allows people to understand themselves is other people. And so as you interacted with other people, you learned your strengths. And then now you're able to play in your strengths. And I hear your strength around building communities. I get it fully. What you see as connecting all along when you were doing DJs, you were bringing people together. When you're starting the business, you're bringing people together. So that's the strength that you have, which is bringing people together, building communities that allow people to be brought together. There is a thread in that whole process. But you only find that through the exploration and perhaps quite a bit of self-reflection, which is something that I'm big on. And then I love what you say, no experience is lost. Each of those experiences was hard, I am sure, but the confidence it has given you on what you're capable of doing. You're capable of waking up and going to Ghana, surviving for a year. You're capable of waking up and setting up in Nigeria. Of all places, Nigeria. Hata hiyo ni Mungu alikuwa amekudisaidia, hacheki na wewe. But if you can survive that, that just should tell you the things that you're able to survive. I like the mindset of maximizing opportunities. And ultimately, this is a counter way of thinking about business, but I totally agree with it. I find many entrepreneurs are looking to build the business, and it's important, and the business skills, and those are important. But actually, what enables a business to grow is your self-awareness. That self-awareness enables you to know what kind of business you can build and what kind of business you can't build. We underestimate it, but it's one of the most important skills. But also then your leadership skills, your ability to lead teams, your ability to inspire teams, your ability to vision your team is what I'm hearing you talking about. And ultimately the values of service, excellence, and other values. And those experiences then bring together those things so that you're able to work for them. And I love what you just said about people speak for you. That's a reality. Yesterday, a friend of mine asked me, Esther, I need this person. They gave me the JD. I told them I have the person for you. That person was not even interviewed. On Monday, they will be at work. But that's the power of when people speak for you. And people speak for you when they have seen your work, they've seen your consistency, they've seen you failed, you woke up, you failed, you woke up. And so then people are able to speak for you. I want to move, and I think I'm sure time is way gone. Please put up in the chat room what you're hearing, what questions you have, so that we also spend some time there. This is the last round of questions I'm going to do, and then I'll come back to the chat room. I want to hear from you. One of the bigger things that we do, and I hear it with Steve Derito, is the power of experiences. And so one of the bigger things that we do within Lapid is, of course, we serve, we have classes, we have community building, we have the council, but also the other thing that we do that I like is around what we call the Africa experience. And it's an experience for our people to sort of just interact with themselves as Africans. My vision is, as a generation, we start to think about ourselves as existing in a boundaryless Africa. And we don't want to talk about that as a theoretical thing. We want to have practical things that we are doing that enable young people to think of themselves as through a boundaryless Africa. And so when Derito here is talking about Ghana or Nigeria, me, I don't even care whether they work or not. I just like the fact that now you're a proper African. And now then you're leading teams that are not just in Kenya, but across the region. And Joanne, I want to come back to you. You guys did Ethiopia. I'm taking you down memory lane. And I just want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you remember from planning, going to Ethiopia, and how have those influenced you today? I think Kanyi was the same thing. And actually, we can go to Kanyi first and then we come back to you, Joanne. Kanyi, I think you did 2 places. I remember you doing 2 places. Am I wrong?
I was so free. I did both of them.
Yes, you did Ethiopia and Uganda. Was it Uganda?
Yeah.
Um, I'm allowed to laugh at you. But I just want to hear your reflection of what that did for you. What did waking up? I think it was that you were free. But I also think, I remember interacting with you in that processing of Uganda and Ethiopia and thinking this is actually a very good way of thinking because it allows you to build understanding of those countries, understanding of those cultures. You had a hunger of learning. That's the word. I don't think it was the free time. I think it was a bit of that. I think also there was an element of the hunger of learning. But what did that
Yes.
experience of interacting with Uganda, with Ethiopia do for you as a person?
I don't remember which country we went first, but after the first country, on the second one, I thought I also want to go to the second one. But the first one, the opportunities that we were getting to just go, like go meet a leader, some, I think in Uganda, we met the Ministry of Youth there and just see what they were trying to do for the youth and whatnot. Even though maybe it doesn't work, but you can see they have plans and whatnot, even if they don't get implemented per se. But what it did for me was open up my mind in terms of different cultures. Of, for example, you go to Uganda and you realize, okay, they have a lot of food. Then you start noticing small things like the food differences that they have and the food we have, and some things like why you might find maybe Ugandans are big, and you start thinking, okay, maybe we don't have food in Kenya as you thought, as we have, as you might think that you do. So in general, I think it opened up my mind in terms of there are other people out there that have different cultures and different kind of lives, and I also wanted to experience Ethiopia after that, just to see what they have there. And when we went there, in terms of like infrastructure there, for example, it was totally different from Kenya. For example, their city is connected with the railway. You are like, okay, it is working very well, it is on time, it is cheap. And then when it comes to road, there were no traffic because everyone is using the train. At that point, now you ask yourself, why can't Kenya do that? And at the end of the day, you just realize it's just corruption and whatnot. But it opens up your mind, like it is possible when someone is lying there on the podium and saying we are not able to do this A and B and C. Because at that time, actually, I think I wanted to be a politician. I really wanted to do a lot of
I
things.
remember that.
But at the end of those 2 journeys is when I realized it is not for me, and I dropped it forever. I dropped a
Now,
lot of things at around that time, but that it was an eye opening for me in terms of what other people have, or what we have in Kenya that we take for granted, and what other people have that we don't have and should be there. So at that point is when I decided I'm gonna travel a little bit, and in terms, if my career allows, I'm gonna move. And that's why I've been intentional in terms of my movements. I try to move to a place that I'm gonna be uncomfortable as much as possible. Uh, s- that's the only way I'm gonna learn different cultures. So even me coming to Japan, even though I wasn't planning on it, but when the opportunity came, I just thought of it as an opportunity for me to be able to learn. I knew language is gonna be a struggle. It still is at the moment, but learning how things are run in a first world country, in a nation country, is totally good for my growth in terms of if I'm coming back, I know what a mediocre service look like, and I'm able to point out this should not be done like this. And forgive my language, but
No, I totally
yes.
agree. Apologize for it. I totally agree with what you just said. The thing about Japan is they're very efficient, and operational excellence is a big thing in your Japan kind of culture. And I'm looking forward to debriefing that a little bit more. But I like what you just said. That's just that open mind, that learner mindset, that was then, which enabled you to go to Uganda, enabled you to go to Ethiopia. I think that's something that I would encourage all of us to have, that hunger to learn, that humility to learn constantly. I think that enables people to become great, because it's that thing that keeps you chasing after what can I learn in this place. And comfortable intentionally, and allowing yourself to be, the thing that I meet with many people nowadays, there's a self-preservation, self-protection that means that we don't want to be uncomfortable. But unless and until you make peace with uncomfortable, then growth cannot be your reality. And so as you make uncomfortable your reality, getting out of your comfort zone your reality, it then enables you to be able to do great things. Joyanne, Ethiopia, any reflections around the planning, the leading, and the delivery of you guys being in Ethiopia? If you have any questions, comments, please put them up in the chat room, and then we will do one last round of questions. Joanne, we can hear you. Hatukuski? I'm reading your whatever. Okay, so as Joanne figures that out, maybe let me just do one last round as I collect the questions here. You guys have worked in different spaces. What are some of the things that you've learned working with people in different countries, that you would advise your younger self to keep in mind as you start your professional life? And then even need to be in different countries. It could actually even be here. What advice would you give your younger self, Steve Derito?
So, yeah. What advice would I give to my younger self? And the experience that the skills and the experience and the lessons that I've picked working with different people. One, opportunities are everywhere. For me, that's it. It's opportunities are everywhere, and for me, it's just a matter of what are you looking at. You need to be focused on what are you looking at. What are you willing to learn? What are you willing to lose? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to pick? Because opportunities are everywhere. Working with in different continents and in different countries, for me, what I've picked to this point is that, and again, I just go back to the aspect of self-awareness. And sorry for I keep on going back here.
Please do.
Because people don't change. People don't change. The way the Steve that I am in Nairobi, the Steve I am in Accra, the Steve that I'm in Lagos, right? And so for me, what that means is that there is a space of personal investing in yourself, because you are the only person who will remain constant. So whatever you pick, you need to prioritize investing in yourself by taking a program like Lapid, by being very intentional in terms of people that you bring in your life, by remaining very super focused in things that you want to pick and the value that you want to cultivate as well. For me, people don't change. And so working around these spaces and just interacting with different people, what that has meant for me is that I always need to know, why am I here? Why am I in this country? Why am I in this business? Why am I in this organization? Why am I in this relationship? Because the moment I understand why, it always takes me back to the true north and just points me to true north. And so that's the most consistent thing that I've seen, regardless of the space that I found myself. With Steven, what is he looking to learn from me? What kind of value is he looking to build in this organization, and what does he want to be known or be remembered for in this organization, in this circle of friendship, in this service that he's doing as well. I think for me, that's it. So I think for me, self-awareness has been a lesson that I've picked, something that I'm actually, that season I was trying to also to amplify that, and also kind of just investing more into myself, because it's something that has been so evident in my life, has been so evident in the last few years, that I've been able to interact with different people and different spaces as well. So I think for me, I just put it out there clearly, simply invest in yourself. People don't change. You're the only constant person they're going to be. And so the investment that you put into yourself, you have to be super intentional about that.
I love that. I love what you started with. Opportunities are everywhere if you're ready for them. You reminded me of a blog which one of the alumni did a while back. It's within our website. It says the world is your oyster. But to do that, you must understand yourself well. You remain the constant. That's a counter-cultural way to think. Everybody's looking for other people to save them and to do the work for them. But it's just choosing to do the work for you, understanding yourself well, investing in yourself, asking, what do I want to focus on? What impact do I want to have in myself and in the people that I interact with, whether it's my colleagues or it's in my family or it's in my relationships. And that focus becomes very important, and starting everything with why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I interested in this role? Why am I interested in this space? Constantly asking the why, because then that enables you to focus. Can you, something you tell your younger self?
So I'd say something I would tell the younger self that has shaped me, even with the people I've worked with so far, I would say is have some values that you are willing to stick with no matter what. And people will know you with those values, so they know in any situation they'll be able to say they know they can rely on you, because they know nothing is gonna change you based on those on whichever numbers of value you stick with. Try to stick with few, because many then you get swayed away quickly. But for example, for me, the main thing I've always stuck with is being honest and respectful. Doesn't matter the situation, I'm always trying to be honest and always trying to be respectful as much as I can. And based on those people, even when I'm interacting at my workplace, they know when I'm giving feedback, it's a honest feedback. I'm not coming from a point of malice or anything. I'm just trying to maybe help you improve. Because as much as you give feedback, mostly when you learn in workplace, positive feedback doesn't really do you good. You want feedback that can build you, but you want to be able to give feedback in a nicer way, such that the other person doesn't feel like they're being attacked. But if they know you have few values, that you're always honest and respectful, then they know you're coming from a point of trying to build them. So that is something that I've learned and I've tried to stick with. And if I think I would have learned it maybe a little bit earlier, that's something I could have told my younger self here.
I love that. Have some values that represent who you are and stick with them. But also the second thing I'm hearing you talk about is the power of feedback. You receiving feedback, you giving feedback. If you want to grow, you must make room for feedback. If you're shy about feedback, then that limits your capacity to grow. I want to pick up a comment here by Emmanuel. I am Emmanuel, a third-year student in University of Nairobi, BSc Criminal Justice. I'm loving the conversation. A quick question: are there opportunities for international collaboration? I think Caleb has shared more information on that, but we work with people from different spaces. The beauty of the way we are doing the programs nowadays is it's a blend of physical and in person. So when you apply, you're going to get information around all that. But we are doing this classes on Zoom, but also this cohort, we have some boot camps. And so you need to be able to attend the boot camps, but boot camp and some online live sessions. I am Kevin doing BCom at Dedan Kemathi. Must I wait until third year? Not necessarily, but you need to demonstrate that you are exceptional. We are not taking half than exceptional for this cohort. So you need to demonstrate in your application that you're exceptional. Please post any questions. Oh yeah, does Lapid have a branch in Nakuru? We don't, but we have very many people from Nakuru. As you've heard, Joyanne is from Nakuru, Steve is from Nakuru. The question is how you can be able to leverage on the program to grow yourself, and how can I get help to be helped to build a community of understanding to a young person and a youth. Please apply for the program, and that's the easiest way to do it. Much love from Dedan. It's nice to see Dedan Kemathi here. Happy 10th anniversary. This is so inspiring. The stories are stories of hope to us. My question is, do members meet, or do they just do it online? And I think Caleb has explained that it's a mix of both. Joyanne, Ethiopia, tell us something that you learned from Ethiopia. If you have any questions or comments, please put them up. I will close at 9 o'clock. So please make sure if you have any thoughts, you share them early.
Sorry, let me leave one chat.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
as
so
oh, go on.
Yes, that's better. Sorry, I was having issues with my computer. So what I learned, I was one of the lucky people who was able to visit both Ethiopia and Zambia.
I had forgotten
so
that.
What I learned, yeah, I went to both. So what I learned was working without a budget and the dedication and intentionality of putting your all in a project for it to be successful. If you remember well, I remember when we were going to Ethiopia, I had blind faith that I am definitely going to Ethiopia, and I had paid for my ticket and I didn't have a passport. But then again, it goes around just that belief and the power of community, because I came to my people, I came to Steve and I asked, do you know anyone who can help me get my passport? Because I really, really want to go and experience this other culture and this other country. And yes, so, and the working without a budget, as Esther, I'm sure you just pointed out, was very key when we began the fundraisings and all the other crazy things we did, just for us to be able to have that opportunity. So that's something I've grown with. I'm very intentional and I give my all to everything I do. So.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Lapid. We don't do big things because we have resources. I think that's the one thing that every Lapid will understand. We find a way to get things done. We don't need all the dots to be together. We just find a way of making things to be done. So last round of questions, because I can't see any questions. And if there are questions you have, please put them up. A memorable moment, what advice would you give people as they join Lapid? Both questions at the same time. A memorable moment, and what advice would you give people as they join the program in terms of how to make the most out of it? Derito?
Well, a memorable moment. Well, for me, a memorable moment goes to when I was serving and the day that I was serving with as a community leader as well. Going to visit kids that were less than a year old consistently on a weekly basis, sometimes even like daily basis and I think for me that kind of connected me that there's another world that exists outside what I always thought existed as well. So for me, the memorable moments were many, but I think for me that particular one, that there is another life. There are other lives that are there that are ready and they're hungry and they're looking for the most basic thing that we can give: love, comfort, visit, hope, your presence. I think for me that was a very memorable moment. But again, even much more from that as well. I'm still having memorable moments with most of my friends. I think for the last 3 months, I've been very much intentional connecting with fellow cohort members, fellow Lapid members as well. And it's like just a meeting and just some of them even remind me things that I couldn't even remember, right? And I think the community itself, every day, every week, every class, every person that comes to speak, every interaction, every idea, for me was the highlights. And after Lapid, I've been to a number of programs, both even locally and even international as well. But there is something super beautiful about Lapid. You never get to do the same thing twice, right? So, and from the moment you start Lapid, it kind of builds up, the experience kind of builds up, the lessons kind of build up. The first, am I allowed to call them coaches or lecturers? They speak something beautiful until you meet the next person, and they speak something very much beautiful. The first person speaks and spills a lot of wisdom until you meet the next person, and the third person, and the fourth person, until you can go and do like breakup sessions with your fellow community leaders and also Lapid leaders as well. For me, that moment and those moments for me were my highlights. And I wouldn't say a special moment, I'd say special moments for me. And if I ever had a chance to go, I'll still go back to Lapid. What kind of advice would I give someone looking to join to Lapid? Come hungry. Come hungry. It's good to have expectations, but do not miss the experience of the process. You might be coming here looking for opportunities. You might be coming here looking for a community, but everything just makes sense. So just come hungry, come ready, right? And come empty, actually, come empty. Come to learn and unlearn. Come to attach and detach. Just come as you are, come hungry. And I think for me, just come hungry, come empty, because from this community, it's going to just kind of transform you. And I think for me, I'm speaking very passionately about my experience, very passionate about Lapid. Even right now, when I talk about Lapid, I talk about Lapid with a lot of pride, because Lapid transforms me. When I look at my life before Lapid, when I look at the expression I had before Lapid and after Lapid, I think those are two different things. One of the things I picked from Lapid is that it set me into a platform and a space of always learning. And I think that's a skill that you're not going to pick from anywhere else. Lapid sets you on a space, on a journey of continuous seeking for experiences, continuous seeking for information, continuous always hungry to connect, to learn, to meet with people, and to grow. And so for me, that's Lapid in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think sometimes when people listen to perhaps even what you're talking about here, they probably imagine that you've arrived. I know life well enough to know you're still in the journey, you're still in the process. And if we learn to be learners, to be people who listen with humility, the possibilities become endless. Kanyi, a memory that is stuck in your mind, and what advice would you give somebody as they join now?
I think I have few memories, but the main one I would say is mostly the classes. I think the one class that I remember, I don't remember the name of the coach, but he was a techie in a building somewhere there, and he plays an instrument. If I say that, maybe you might know who I'm talking about. But his session for me was like the highlight of the whole thing. I always enjoyed the whole session, but for him, just him talking about tech and what they were trying to do was kind of inspirational to me, based on how I was trying to get into tech. So that was my memorable moment in Lapid that I can remember now, apart from all the other classes, doing project works and also doing the community work for planning the conferences and whatnot. All of those were memorable, but that would stick out for me because I think has carried out even to today. I kind of contributed to me shifting gears.
And now I'm going to invite you guys to come and do sessions. You're that person for the next cohort. And the same thing for you. Just know. Mimi nimetuma emails in this webinar. You guys are the ones who are doing for that process for the people who are coming in. But yes, you wanted to finish with something, can you?
In terms of the guidance that I would give someone who is gonna be joining, I would say be open-minded in terms of be willing to learn and be willing for your own ideas to be challenged, but at the same time have your own things that you believe in and be able to speak on what you believe. It might not be the conventional, most people might not agree with it, maybe even the coach might not agree with you, but be able to at least say what you think, try to give your point of view, and if it doesn't align, it's well and good. As I said earlier when we were starting, I think I got kicked out of a class because of a disagreement, but it's fine. The best part you can do is be able to say, be able to say what you believe in, and if you don't get to an agreement, it's well and good. But try to understand the other person's perspective, and don't carry it as if they don't like you. They are just trying to say give their views, but also give your views. But the point of being is have an open minded, don't have a rigid mind where it's my own way or the highway. And you will meet those kind of people even in Lapid, even in life, but you need to be able to know how to navigate those conversations. When I was joining Lapid, I didn't know how to navigate those kind of discussions. That's why being kicked out of class, I was just, I by now I know how have known how to navigate those kind of discussion, but it's a learning experience. So when you're going there, take it as a learning experience, come as you, and don't hide under a cocoon or something that people can't see who you are. Be who you are, and then at that time you can be able to come out at the end of the class, maybe have been changed some few the way you think, or have changed also how other people see you. But the point is, by the end of the class, people will know you as a person who is willing to speak on what they believe and able to change their mind when challenged by facts and whatnot.
I love that. Thank you for that. I love what I'm hearing both of you say, which is be open-minded, have a hunger for learning, but also have a point of view. I tell people my best classes, right now I'm doing some sessions that I do with NYU and love them. And NYU is in New York and love it because you hear different perspectives and people push back. So people show up with a thought. They don't just show up to consume. They show up with, this is what I think. And having a point of view allows the learning experience to be stretched. And so I love that thought process and totally celebrate it. Joyanne, a memorable moment and advice to the incoming cohorts.
My memorable moments are the relationships and the friendships I formed in Lapid. Many of my good friends up to now are people who I met in Lapid and then served together, and there's some people who I served. We still have a good relationship, and we've grown in the journey of life together. I was especially very happy when I saw you're doing the webinar with Steve, because Steve is one of my closest friends up to now, and it's a relationship I formed in Lapid. Advice to people who want to join: immerse yourself in the experience. Join with an open mind and an openness to meet new people who have different ideas from you, who are very from different backgrounds. It just expands your mind. You are able to learn from each other, peer to peer, which is amazing. But able to just make you expound your way of thinking and outlook towards life. And again, I feel like I always emphasize it's just the relationships and the friendships you will take.
Absolutely.
From the experience. That was,
and those are most powerful even than the classes. Yes. I love that, because the classes will come and they'll go, but those relationships, if you nurture them, I'm in a group right now of the people that I joined my first job with. That was 20 years ago, 2004. Right now, many of them are CEOs and CFOs in large companies locally. So if I need something, I'm able to ask them. But it's not even what I need. It's the relationships that we have built that then enable us to be able to do great things and do life together. So that whole conversation around, you will come and meet other ambitious people. You'll come and meet other people who are open-minded, people who are learners, and that then builds a community that you can be able to grow with, and not just through the program, but even later on. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time again to join me. I haven't seen any additional questions. I want to hand over to Caleb so that he closes for us. Asanteni sana. You guys must be back. I know I've not even started talking about the things you learned in terms of being a software engineer, a product manager, an operations manager. I'm sure there's a whole conversation you guys can facilitate around those conversations, around the opportunities that you see in today's world in terms of software. I still remember can you going to Andela? I still remember I still have so many questions around the possibilities in the space of startups and the challenges in fintech. I still see so many possibilities as far as operations go. I tell people, if there's anything that's understated in this country and we don't have, is operations. So I remember when Joanne, this is my story and I'm going to end with it, but when Joanne was thinking about her masters, I kept telling her, please think about an operations, because I know businesses cannot grow without operations people. It's the most underrated, most valuable thing. Try and build a business without people who think about operations. It's a headache. I end there. Asanteni sana. I'm grateful for everybody's time. I'm grateful to each one of you for the contributions you've made to my life and to the Lapid experience. Let's go for the next 10 and go bigger. That means I am knocking on doors. That's the only way we don't go bigger. Asanteni sana. Caleb, over to you.
Thank you so much, Esther. And wow, what an amazing session. Let me just say that you guys, you have superseded the expectations that I had. It was so wonderful. I've picked so many lessons. My cup is full. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to the participants. Thank you for engaging us with the questions. Please feel free to reach out. Check out our website at lapidleaders.africa. Make calls. Our phone number is on the website. I've shared the link for application for those who want to apply. And if this was your first time, we are so honored to have you. We welcome you back. Please stay tuned. We will be in this space to learn more, to grow more, and to keep growing. Thank you so much. I want to wish all of you a good night and see you next time. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, everybody. Have a very blessed night.
Good night. Thank you.